All right, the next step is you need to expand your SD card. And like it says here, if you have an SD card that's larger than 4 gigabytes, which you should be using a 32, if you're using 16, this should still work, but anything bigger than 4 gigabytes, you must expand it before your Pi can actually use all the remaining space. It just has to do with the technical side of how it stores things on the SD card. So you're going to go back to that configuration screen that we saw there earlier, the main one that should be in RetroPie, and you're going to go down to RASP config, right? So run that, and then when you run that, when you open that up, you should see a screen like this. And one of your first options, I believe on the first thing it should see is expand file system. And you want to click that and run it, or hit enter. You might have to use your keyboard and hit enter there. And then once it's done, it'll probably warn you, but if it doesn't, you definitely need to reboot your Raspberry Pi. And what we'll do is now when it reboots, you'll have all the storage available on your SD card. And this will be important once you start putting games on there. If you don't do this, then what you'll find is that as you start putting more than 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games on there, you'll get an error message or some weird messages that'll say you don't have any space, and it'll be confusing because you'll say, well, wait a second, I got a 32 gigabyte card. That's huge for these old games. These old games didn't take up a lot of space. But if you don't do this step, if you don't expand the SD card space, you'll run into some issues. So go ahead and do that next.